All right. Very good evening to all the people who have attended and are looking forward to hearing Prayag today. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back to one more power packed session of the Wellness Wednesdays with Onsurity. I am your host, Abhishek, and today we will be being talking about mood disorders with Prayag. And it's going to be a very good session. And we really look forward to learning a lot of new things as always. And in continuation to our previous session where we, sort of learned a lot about well-being and strategies of good well-being, Prayag Naidu today, who is a great clinical psychologist who's done his MSc from, Jyotiba Phule University in psychology, is going to be talking to us about how to really identify if you are going through a mood disorder or not. And if at all, yes, what are some ways or some coping mechanisms where you can respond to these signs of mood disorder, right? So it's gonna be a really good scintillating session that we're looking forward to. And thank you so much, Prayag, for joining us today. And over to you. Let's look forward to a great session. And before we sort of begin, just a quick update that we'll be having a 15-minute Q&A session towards the end, where all of you can raise your questions to Prayag, and he'll be here to sort of enlighten us about the topic. So thank you so much, and really glad to have you today, Prayag.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for such a great introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Prayag Naidu, clinical psychologist, as you all know. I'm really grateful every time I see attendees joining and knowing more about, their emotional well-being and trying to work on it. So really grateful, and I'm looking forward for this session, just like all of you. And before I share the presentation, I'd just like to tell all of you that it's not going to be a lecture. I'm looking forward to make it more like a conversation and understanding it, because this becomes a very integral part when it comes to our personal and professional life, our mood. So without a further ado, let's get started. I'd request Abhishek to just quickly let me know if everyone can see the screen.
Yeah.
Just a second.
Yeah, I think we're good to go.
Awesome. Great. So before I start, I would really like to, can I hear from people too, Abhishek, or it's just the chat platform?
Yeah, people can chat here. So everyone, please do feel free to put your, answers to whatever Prayag has to, ask you, and make sure that you all are interacting here.
So, all right, thank you so much, Abhishek. All right, so to begin with, I'd like to start this with a very interesting metaphor that I'm sure all of you have heard someday or other, that emotions are just like ocean waves. And if you know how to surf, you will be able to ride over the joy and the sorrow much effectively. So our emotions are just like a waves, and our surfing board is our mood. And if we know how to utilize the surfing board and know how to manage it, then we'll be able to go through all the situation that comes into our life. And in order to manage, we first need to measure and understand that thing. And our today's topic is to understand it better, and also getting to know effectively ways to manage it. So I would like to begin this with a very quick activity, and I'm just looking forward all of you to use the chat platform as actively as you can. So here's the thing. So before we dwell into a lot of clinical part of mood, I would like to know, how do you handle your own current mood, and what is your current mood? I would like you to describe it with a song, a movie dialogue, or a movie, anything. You can use the chat platform and let me know. Okay, we'll wait for more people. Okay, all right, I think we got something here. Numb. Okay, thank you so much for answering. Okay, I'm looking forward for more answers. Come on. What is your current mood? Any movie dialogue that you can resonate your current mood to? Oh, life goes on. Thank you so much, Vishali, for doing that. Bawal. Great. This too shall pass. All right, all right. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you, Weba. Anybody else? Come on, I think it's there won't be any right or wrong answer to this. So just go ahead and share it. The current mood a bit blah. Okay. All right. I think you'll be able to tell me more about your mood in the next slide. Okay. Life is a race. Three idiots. Amazing. Thank you so much, Pooja, for sharing that. I'm really curious to know how many of for you it is. Okay, 1 second. Okay, enjoying. Sriharsha says enjoying. Live the moment. Wow, nice. I'd like to know how many of you actually do this regularly. Regularly ask yourself that okay, how am I feeling? How am I feeling today? आज मैं कैसा महसूस कर रहा हूँ? कहीं पे जाने के लिए कहीं से निकलना जरूरी है. Wow, nice. Sanjay, thank you so much. It's so nice to see that you do it regularly. Anybody else that ask that question to yourself? Yeah, okay, what am I feeling today? How's my mood today? Okay. Okay, all right. Vaishali says often. Thank you so much, Vaishali. Every day I ask that. Seems like everyone is super, full-fledgedly educated about what questions they need to ask for their emotional introspection. I generally think, why am I this annoyed today? Nice. I think I'll be able to answer this question, Radhika, by the end of the session. In the morning, we have this session. Wow, that's amazing, Shweta. I think we all need to implement this in our organization. Amazing. I think these are some of the greatest response I've ever got when I asked this question. So thank you so much for that. Let's go to the next slide. And we all know that recently there is this movie of Thor got released. So I thought I'll pick it up from there. So on the scale of Thor, how are you feeling today? Not daily, but often. Okay. All right, let's answer this. 1, okay, that means chill mode. 8 is exciting. 9, somebody says 4, okay, last. I hope it becomes 1 by the end of the day. I guess 9, okay, wow, very fast reward. Mamta says 5, okay, 9. I'm waiting for somebody to say 3. Okay, Sanjay says 9. Anybody else? Okay, 9. Awesome. All right. Again, some of the great response. 4, somebody says, which is crying. Okay. All right. So let's understand, why I actually did this. So I want to ask this question to all of you. Why do you think, we actually did this activity? Quickly. 2 answers will be enough. Why do you think we did this activity in the beginning? Okay, waiting for the answers. To gear up, amazing, Mamta. Thank you so much. The second question is, what difference you've seen in the first slide and the second slide? To know ourselves and control emotions. Perfect, Radhika. Rohini says to be aware of our current mood. Absolutely, that's correct. So glad that you all are so aware of your emotions and the reason why we're doing this. Great. The second question is, what difference you have seen in the first slide and the second slide? The first slide is mood. Wow, Abhishek. Amazing. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Okay. Let me answer this. You correctly mentioned, Abhishek. Thank you so much for answering that. I missed the first slide. Okay, so the first slide was actually Radhika to tell us what your mood is. How do you feel right now, and what dialogue you resonate from any Bollywood, Hollywood movie. So, without a further ado, let's understand why I actually did this. Well, there were 2 reasons for this. First, to of course pump everyone up and understand what emotion, what is feelings and what is mood. And one of the activities to do, the reason why I did this is to practice something that help us to feel more relaxed and understand our mood, and that is introspection. So we've already done introspection of how we are feeling. So the first reason was to exercise that help us to manage our moods and feeling better, that is introspection. And the second is to knowing the difference between feeling and mood. Can anybody tell me what is the feeling between, difference between feeling and the mood? Anyone? I know I'm asking too many questions, but I just want to make it conversational. Anyone? Okay, all right. So I'll just based on moods feeling expressed. Wow. I think it's other way. So I'll just quickly explain this to all of you. Basically, we all feel that feelings and moods are usually and often interchangeably used, but they are really aren't same things. So what is the difference and how it is different from emotions, feeling, and mood? So let's break it down into three things and understand it. Somebody says based on mood, feeling expressed, mood is the outcome. Absolutely. We feel from our heart. Correct. That's correct. But let's understand what exactly and where it starts from. So first thing comes first. Everything starts with an emotion. Now, emotion is a bodily reaction. That means every time you hear, think, or see, there is a brain, there is a chemical that secretes from your brain throughout your entire body. And that's when you start feeling something. And this secretion of chemical and emotion stays just for 6 seconds in your body. And then it jumps to the feeling. Now, feeling stays for 90 seconds and it stays for a shorter period of time than mood. For instance, if you walk into a dark room, you will experience fear, but that will be for a short period of time. And same goes for you encountering a snake in your bathroom or a snake in your office. You will be afraid for a while, but later it will go away. So feelings are basically stays for a shorter period of time, but you feel it entirely in your body, because when emotion triggers because of the external stimulus, it sends out chemical to different parts of your body, your hands, your legs, your body. And that's why you sometimes, when you're angry, when you're feeling scared, you sometimes shake, or you sweat, and heart palpitation. All these things will usually happens. Now let's understand the mood. Mood is nothing but a collective interpretation of your environment, your physiology, and your mental state. Now, how do we define this? Whenever an emotion gets triggered, it goes to feeling and ends on to a mood. So basically, mood, if I say that mood is defined by three areas, which is your environment, your physiological system, and your mental state, then environment will be the weather, lighting, and people around you. For example, you might have seen that sometimes your mood gets changed when somebody enters the room. It might be, it sometimes gets lighten up, or sometimes it just get down. When you see somebody who's very, offensive, or somebody who is usually you don't enjoy their company, you feel that, okay, my mood is not good right now. And when it comes to weather, let's take a current weather example. When it rains, we sometimes feel more gloomy than the other weather, or the same thing happens in the winter. So the environment impacts our mood, and that's what difference in the mood than the feeling is. Now let's understand the physiology of mood. Physiologically, when you eat something, your mood gets deferred. So for example, let's say if you eat your favorite food, how do you feel? You feel happy, you feel chirpy, you feel that, okay, I ate pizza today, although it was a cheat diet, but I still enjoy it. And that's how your mood changes. Same thing happens when you exercise. Now when you exercise, again, there is a chemical reaction, but you feel differently, and that's how your mood changes. Same goes to the third part, which is the mental state. Now mental state is your attention, your current emotion. And when I say the mental state, it is basically you sitting in one of the webinars that enjoying something. If you have the mindset that this webinar is going to be shitty or really really bad, then your mood is decided. You've already decided your mood until entire, no matter how the session is, you'll feel gloomy, you'll feel bad, or you'll be like, okay, I don't know why am I doing this anyways. So these are the differences, and this is how the feeling and mood differs. The main thing to understand from these feeling versus mood is that feeling stays for a while, but mood is a long-term response. It stays for days, weeks, and months. Any questions we have so far? So far, so good. Yes, no, maybe. Anyone in the chat box? All good. Awesome.
I think Prayag just felt thirsty. So that was the feeling, or was it an emotion?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great. Let's get to know more about it. But I want to start the discussion with one of the examples that we usually do. Have you heard people saying that, क्या emotional बातें करता है, practical बन, why you talking so emotionally, you have to be more practical, don't be emotional, और तू बड़ा emotional बंदा है या तू बड़ी emotional बंदी है, you think too much from your emotions. But now we need to understand that emotions are our survival mechanism. It helps us to regulate our moods, and if it isn't there, we will be just like Chitti Robot. Same जो चिटी रोबोट के साथ हुआ था, he had no emotion, no mood, nothing. He was just trying to do things as in when things are happening और जैसा भी environment में चीजें हो रहा था. So we will become Chitti the robot. So all these things that don't feel emotions, it's not good to be so much conscious about your emotions. This is all things that we shouldn't consider more too. And I think this is clear to all of you. I think I see more answers in the chat. Yes, always. Yes. Can mood changes emotions? Emotion changes the mood because it stays for just 6 seconds. Shriharsha, how to change the mood? Achha, we will talk about this in the end. Thank you so much for asking that question. But yeah, as I was saying that we tend to feel that emotions are not important, but eventually, if you see, emotions and moods and all these feelings that we feel is the most important thing. But emotions and mood should always flush out, and this is a very important process. If this doesn't happen, it gives rise to multiple challenges and adversities. It could be like stuck at one mood for 3 to 4 weeks, which is upset. So it is very important that if you're feeling moody, if you're feeling sad, it should get flushed out. It should quickly get resolved, maybe in day or two. But if it stays for 3 or 4 weeks, we get to see different patterns of our behavior, and that's where the story comes in. I'm sure that you all know that every one of us get moody, and it's no surprise because we are living in this uncertain world. But however, sometimes moodiness becomes problem, and because it doesn't flush out and creates more and more problems. So let's understand this with Akhil's story. So basically, Akhil, has been always faced criticism and always heard from people that you're a lot of, you're a moody person, and he has himself seen a lot of mood fluctuations throughout his college life, and he always paid attention to his brightest future and never paid attention to actually seeing that where his mood is going, what he's exactly feeling. And after his college days, he gets into this dream job, and last month he got position of assistant manager at his work, at his at the organization he always wanted to be. So some days for Akhil is very difficult, but some days are little fulfilling. On one of the difficult days, Akhil actually experienced that he is not able to work on the project as efficiently as he was, and slowly he has seen changes in his behavior, his affect, his I'm really sorry, his ability to deal with problems, and also his routine activities. These things are noticed by his colleagues, and they've also seen that he's not been the same person as he was. And in the end, the performance started impacting his sleep, his appetite, his social circle, and also his self-image and the decision making. Is this story clear to all of you? Any questions? Because we're gonna see different prompts and have a discussion about this. Rohini says it's clear. Thank you so much, Rohini. So let's clear. Awesome. So let's understand and brainstorm a little bit. What can you identify in Akhil's story right now? Let's use the chat platform for the first question. What do you identify in his story? His confidence and patience. Okay. Feeling low. All right. He is not really taking care of his mental health, correct, Rohini? Anything? Depression, Okay, correct. Could be bipolar. Could be poly. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anything about his mood specifically? He's been moody. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the second question, the prompt. How do you interpret the scenario and what exactly happening here? Lack of motivation. Okay. Mhm. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Ullah says lack of motivation, mental instability, lack of awareness, maybe. Awesome. I think, Rohini, that helps me to go to the next slide and understand how it actually impacts the overall areas of our living life. Overworking, which affected his daily routine. Amazing. All right. Let's go to the next slide and understand which all area got affected and what was the actual scenario in Akhil's life. Now we know every day we live a life full of roller coaster emotions. You feel sometimes on the top of the world, and one day, because you got a high promotion or you turned your prospective client into a full-fledged client, and another day you may feel down and dumb due to a relationship problem, financial trouble, or because you got a flat tire while you're coming to work and have to listen to a lot of things from your boss. These are the normal fluctuations in the mood that comes and goes. But when your mood starts to have an impact in your daily routine, daily activity, which is social, educational, emotional, vocational, everything, it could be a mood disorder. And somebody correctly mentioned there that, it could be depression, could be bipolar, but we'll understand that, how we don't have to diagnose all these things, but understand there is a need for reaching out to a professional. Maybe the work environment. That's absolutely amazing. Great insight. Thank you so much for that. So let's understand what happened with Akhil here. Akhil, as you seen initially, he was always a moody person. He's been told by his friend that, tu bada moody hai. You usually, your mood just switch from A to B, but he never paid attention. The first trigger. And because he always looked at a brighter side, and similar, like, a few of our example that, why are you getting emotional, yaar? सब कुछ ठीक रहता है, तू ज़्यादा इमोशनल मत बन, इमोशंस से मत सोच, अपने दिमाग से सोच, and all those things. Maybe he might have thought about it, and that's the reason why he always looked at the brighter side of his life. When he grew up, got into a place where he always wanted to be, things got difficult for Akhil. He started experiencing mood change, but because he never reached out for help, Akhil started seeing different area getting affected. And that was the basic conclusion of this story that we're trying to tell you. Now, this affected all these three areas of Akhil's life just because he never considered that, his change in mood could actually be something very serious. Now, the first thing, let's understand what was the biological area which got affected in Akhil's story. Anybody would like to tell me which biological area got affected in Akhil's story? Quickly.
Prayag, if you could, sort of probably help us understand the difference between all three verticals, biological, psychological, and social.
Awesome. Great. I think, okay, I have few answers here. Let me just quickly see. Awesome. There are few people who already started answering it. Sleep, brain. He grew up, Rohini said. Okay, funny. First of all, I think you've correctly mentioned, I'm sorry that, I should have explained it before. But I was thinking that, let's have a little bit of ambiguity so that you get creative answers. Yeah. So biological is basically your physiological response, how your body is getting impacted, your sleep, your thinking, and your appetite, everything. Now your psychological area is the way you respond, the way you think, the way you behave, the way your reasoning mind works, how your project, when you get a project, how you identify the area that requires support and provide it then and there. And social is your social life. Now, I think this was a small explanation for you. Now, I would like to know from all this area, because not just focusing on biological, which all area you feel that, got impacted? Childhood, brain chemical imbalance. Perfectly fine. Great. So we have seen that for biological area, his appetite got impacted, his sleep got impacted, neurochemical, as somebody correctly mentioned, For psychological reason, I think he started slopping at works and not be able to deliver projects and outcomes as he used to do. And socially, he disconnected with his friends, and everyone started looking at him as a person who is not good at all. So all these theories and areas get impacts if you don't give considerable attention to your mood and to your emotion. I hope that is clear. The reason why we have covered this three area is to understand that okay, it impacts basically to all these three areas, but of course there are more areas it affects, sexual life and others, but these are the main pillars which it impacts the more. He did not sleep well, absolutely. That comes into the biological part. Awesome. Any questions so far? Anyone? Sleep appetite, self-isolation, perfect. Not yet. Okay, thank you, Rovini. Let's go to one of the poll. This is the tool. I would like to know what is one tool that you use to uplift your emotion, and is your go-to strategy to lifting your mood and of course to unplug yourself and de-stress. What is that? Abhishek, would you like to share? I think you're the one who has the mic on. Exercise, chocolate, running.
I think eating a lot, stress eating.
Okay. All right. Music. But what do you do when you you want to lift your mood up and de-stress and not stress eat? Stories, trekking, amazing.
I think creating an environment of solitude helps. Like you sort of disconnect yourself with the social environment,
Right.
and probably declutter in your thoughts, all your thoughts, and maybe just go for a meditation or listen to some music.
Absolutely correct. I think I got such a great response in the chat box, and it's really nice to see that you all have some or other strategies to manage your mood and de-stress too. Now let's understand what happened if we don't have mechanism and tools to overcome the mood. Something that happened with Akhil here. So it impacts and it becomes a mood disorder. Now, to understand what exactly mood disorder is, it's a mental health condition that impacts the way you feel, the way you react, and the way you live your mood. And it's a disorder where a person feels very extremely depressed and upset, extremely, and it stays for more than 4 to 5 weeks, and it's a persistence phase of being sad and depressed. And on the other side, it's also an extreme happiness or an extreme sadness. So there are two ways. One, the person will either go to a very south pole, which is very depressed and doesn't know what to do and has nothing to do with his life. He's just thinking about his mood and he's in his lowest mood. And the other part is extreme happiness or extreme sadness. So there are two things. One is low and one is quickly extreme switch in happiness to sadness. Now this is being defined by DSM-5, and it has divided into DSM-5 divided these two disorders into two different major disorders. One is depressive disorder. Now, before I tell all of you what depressive disorder is, I would like to explain you one basic difference between sadness and depression, because you might have seen a lot of people using "I am depressed," "मैं बड़ा depressed सा रहने लग गया हूँ, मैं बहुत depressed." There is a difference. Now, if there is a persistent continuous depressed mode for more than 5 to 6 weeks, where all these areas and signs I'll be explaining in the next slide is there, then only you're depressed. But if you feel upset for 4 to 5 days, and on 6 to 7, 8, and next week you feel really happy and calm, then you are not depressed. That is just your mood and you being upset because of the external stimulus. Another disclaimer is this may or may not be resonating to your experience, but I want all of you to observe this as an educational point of view and not a diagnosing criteria, because only a licensed psychologist will be able to diagnose you in any of your mental health disorder. So I'll be presenting different signs of depression and bipolar. I request all of you to not diagnose yourself for this and reaching out to the psychologist if you feel that any of these symptoms you can resonate with. Now, depression can have The first thing is depression. Now, depression can have a lot of different signs: a low mood, loss of interest, and you won't be able to enjoy something you usually used to enjoy. Your normal, rejuvenation phase, change in appetite. You've been feeling worse and excessively guilty, or recurrent thought of suicidal is something that happens usually in depression. And having said that, depression can also have physical signs. So this includes shrink of your brain, frontal lobe, and also hippocampus. Now there are two areas which is very important in our brain. I'll just give you a gist of it. The frontal lobe, which usually works for your reasoning ability. Reasoning ability is used when you're presenting your presentation, any idea, or talking to your friend, and usually use it for the reasoning ability. And your hippocampus is memory. So when it shrinks, it gets impacted, and that's the reason why mostly people won't be able to think when they are depressed, and they might face or deal with losing some part of memory or forgetting things. So that's the sign of depression. Any questions so far, Abhishek? All right. Let's go to bipolar and understand what exactly bipolar is. Now, bipolar is extreme switch in your mood from depression to mania. Now, let's understand from this graph. If you can see the straight line, that is a normal mood. It fluctuates like this, but it stays. It doesn't changes anything in our life. It changes, it comes back, it changes, it comes back. But when you are dealing with a bipolar, when you're diagnosed with bipolar, you see an extreme switch from mania to depression. So it's like day and night. One day you will feel super happy, but the other day you will feel that you're worthless, you're not able to do things, you're feeling irritated, or you're not able to deal with anything that is coming in your area of work. Is this clear to everyone?
Prayag, when we
Yes.
say maniac, does that mean that an individual is facing something that they should be ashamed of? Because it generally, sort of gives a negative connotation, the term maniac.
Exactly. So basically, mania here means you feeling extremely excited and you have never felt that. Like in ecstasy, you've been doing everything very fast. You're just seems like you're on 1,000% of power, and that's what mania means. It doesn't mean that the somebody is not in their senses. So that is mania. Does that answer your question,
Yeah,
Abhishek?
it does. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So you correctly mentioned people actually perceive mania as mental disorder, but mania is a phase, a mood where you are extremely excited and elated at your mood, and you're very very active that you're normally not. So that's what bipolar disorder is. Now, to understand and overcome any of this bipolar disorder, there are different areas and there are different phases. So I've divided it into three parts, but I'd like to open the chat platform to ask anything, any questions you have about this disorders. Can I get a bottom of this media to talk? Okay, yeah, I'm not. Okay, all right. Thank you for sharing that, Radhika. When I'm not able to forgive myself. Okay. All right. We'll be able to answer all these questions in the end of the session. But thank you so much for asking. I'm hoping that both this area is clear to all of you. So there are different ways to manage our moods and how we can respond to such mood swings. And as I mentioned, I've divided it into three parts. First is healthy habits. So whenever you feel that you are facing any issue when it comes to your mood, you're seeing a quick swift to being happy and being sad or being irritable or being angry, the first thing is make sure that you ask yourself whether you're giving yourself a time, whether you're giving yourself a boundary to practice something that you really want to do or you really enjoy. And that is exercise. When we exercise, you will see quick euphoria because serotonin and endorphin get secreted in our body. And thousands of research have proven, and there are tons of substantial evidence that proves exercise helps you to regulate your mood. Now, the second thing is sleep. If you feel that your mood has been changing, check whether your sleep pattern is correct. The third is healthy diet. As I mentioned in the three pillars, that diet makes hell lot of difference in our life and how we feel about ourselves and inside our body. Fourth is engaging in any particular hobby. You've all mentioned that you all have hobbies and you do that. So understand and question yourself whether I'm doing all these activities to know whether you're going through the phase of extreme not doing things or a depression part. Now, the fifth part is the social connection. Whether you have stopped yourself from reaching out and talking to more of your friends, and if you're able to do all these healthy habits, then you don't have to reach out to a psychologist, and you can say that you're not going through that extreme phase of mood disorder. Now, the second home strategy is to self-monitor. Now, when you do self-monitor, you can have different questions. I can send it to you all in the chat box. That how often do I experience specific mood? As you have mentioned, that some of you said that, okay, I usually ask myself what am I feeling and how is my current mood. The second is, how long does it last? If you feel that your angry mood or your sad mood is lasting for more than 5 weeks, then it's a concern, and then you have to raise it or escalate this to a professional. The third question that you have to ask for self-monitoring is, how severe are the feelings? If you're feeling sad about something, how severe are these? Whether it is taking you to the a tangent where you are just feeling losing yourself or harming yourself. The fourth is, how much does it interferes with your daily life? So these are some of the self-monitoring things that can help you to regulate and amplify in a positive way your mood. Third, the second home remedy and home strategy is to read more books, practice meditation, practice mindfulness, and also attending support groups if you have any. The third is online education. Online education, it's something like this, what we are doing right now. So you're getting educated and you know that, okay, if I face some symptoms like Akhil, I need to reach out for help so that it doesn't get more and more vulnerable. In the end, if you feel that none of this is working for you, it's the right time for you to reach out to a psychologist and talk about it in detail and in depth to overcome this particular area of mood and distress. I hope this explains everything about these two main mood disorder and how we can reach out for help and how we can identify by ourselves that whether these are the symptoms that I'm going through or
So,
not.
Prayag, would you suggest someone, like say, if I'm someone who is not willing to come out of the closet and go talk to a psychologist about it, do these home strategies or remedies work as well-being strategies for me if I practice them over a period of time?
Absolutely. So it's not important, it's not necessary that whenever you feel moody, then only you will practice this. It should be in your daily routine. And to answer your question, I think can you just repeat the last part of your question, Abhishek?
Right. So, say if I'm someone who can't go to a psychologist because I have a block in my head that I can't go and talk to this particular person
you
about.
might get labeled, yeah.
Right. So, do these strategies work if I practice them on a regular basis?
It does. It definitely does. But you have to always remember that don't let the pain become too severe, right? And the best example is your toothache. So when you're having a toothache, you will not wait, and you of course try different home remedies. You put you put different oils on it, and sometimes your mother will say that use this traditional nuska. But in the end, if it gets ruined, then you have to do the root canal.
Right.
So make sure that when you feel that there is a cavity and I need to reach out for help, go ahead and reach out to the professional. So that's the important thing, and we have to make sure that we are giving importance to our teeth and mind similarly, because it's a part of same body. So I'd say that is something that we need to do.
Thank you.
Hope that answers your question, Abhishek. Thank you so much. So I think with this, I will open the platform for all the questions. But before we wind this up, we all have to understand that we all go through tons of vulnerabilities in our daily life, and that defines a crack in our life, that vulnerability. But the only thing that matters is whether you're letting the light in. And letting that light in, that means is reaching out and exploring ways to manage your vulnerabilities. You'll all see different areas that you are impacted, your mood is not right, you're not feeling well. But whether you're giving chance to that light to come in and help you figure out that what how you can overcome that vulnerabilities. So this is a great quote that I always tell my clients that if there is a crack in everything, and that's how light gets in. So if you always wrap yourself with a brighter side, ki har cheez sahi hoga, just like Akhil, you might end up like Akhil. So it's always important to let the light in. That's how I like to wrap it up. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Praya. I think that was a very insightful session. We got to learn, so much about mood disorders, and I think this is where, Unsurity's Wellness Wednesdays ensure that we are breaking, this kind of a stigma for a lot of people, and helping them realize that there is no harm if you have a mood disorder, and you can always have your coping mechanisms, or you can finally go and reach out to a psychologist for help. So thank you so much for giving your insights about this. I will now allow everyone to please put your questions down in the chat for Prayag to answer. And meanwhile, we have a few questions that we got in between. So I'm going to quickly start with Radhika's question about why am I not able to forgive myself?
Thank you so much, first of all, Radhika, for asking that question. I think it takes a lot of courage to ask this question in the chat box. One of the reasons for not forgiving yourself is you may or may not have given too much of attention to resolve it or address it or face it. And that could be one of the reasons why, we usually don't get enough reason to forgive ourselves. But every time you feel that, there is something that is stopping you from achieving your potential, your better version of yourself, which is forgiveness in your case might be, you have to reach out to a psychologist and have that conversation with them in a safe space. Because there'll be a lot of people giving you advice that, do this, do that, but it usually doesn't work for us. So I think that's how I'll be answering your question, Radhika.
In addition to that, Radhika also says that her mood fluctuates and that she wants to go back to how she used to feel earlier. I think I would want to add my question to this. Does having a constant mood define that you cannot go back to an old mood or an old feeling?
It never happens that way, Abhishek. It's always to understand that we can always go to that phase where we used to feel euphoric, where we used to feel happy about ourselves and fully potential. Sometimes what happens when you are exposed to new environment, to a new company, to a new organization or a new people, you tend to compare yourself with them, either upward comparison or the downward comparison, right? And then you feel that, okay, I'm not good enough here because there are more big fishes in the pond. So in such cases, what you have to do is write, journal, understand what are the potential which were there previously and not now. And this way you will be able to validate whether it is already there or not. If it is not there, then you can improvise. And if it is there, then you get yourself an answer that, it's there and it's just people around me who are new and I'm questioning myself.
Got it. We have Dhruba asking, which is a better alternative, antidepressants or psychotherapy?
That's a really interesting question. I don't want psychiatrists to hit me on this answer. But usually what happens is it depends on the severity. We tend to feel that I don't want to take medication because it might interfere with my neural pathways. It sends out, it secretes, not natural chemicals. It secretes a chemical manually because you're eating a tablet and it's secreting serotonin to feel good. So you have to make sure that you first try psychotherapy. And I think this is what the psychiatrist will also say, that try psychotherapy. If it is not working at all, then you can switch to medication. Of course, and this is the same thing that happens in the physical illnesses. We usually sit at home and eat warm, eat good food and warm water when we have cold. But if it is not getting right, then we go to a doctor and get medication and overcome that. So it's the same thing. First, you understand what is happening. You talk to a psychologist about it and do the psychotherapy. If it is not working, switch to medication and do psychotherapy together. So it's a process which happens together.
Right. Thank you. We have Sri Harsha asking us, do we have a natural tendency to correct mood automatically? Like, does our brain do that for us?
Wow, I'm I'm really glad that you guys are asking these such nice questions. I think yes, our brain does have a quality to identify things in a way where we feel good about it, and this depends on our past experience, Abhishek. If your past experience has always been negative, if it has always been an experience where you felt not too valued, your brain will not send out this signal. So brain is just like a tijori, a locker. Whatever you put inside, it comes back to you when you're low. Or best example is our brain is just like the ocean. I was just watching this series yesterday, and this person says this, that our brain is actually like ocean, where whatever you put, there will be time when it will just throw everything back to you. So it's the investment that you do. So if your investment is good, then the returns when you're feeling low will be good too.
Got it. We have Shweta asking us how to control mood fluctuations.
One of the ways to control mood fluctuation is to understand what you are feeling and why your mood is like this. As we mentioned that your mood is depend on your emotions, and every time you see, listen, or hear things, you're getting a stimulus from the external. You're getting an external stimulus. It's coming and making you feel something, and then you're interpreting and making it a mood. So ask a question that why am I feeling this way? If you're angry on your colleague, ask a question to yourself, why am I angry? Is it just one reason, or there is other reasons too? So knowing that answer to why is something that really helps you to understand and manage your mood better.
Great. I think I have a very quick question. I think a lot of people in our session today might resonate with this. So I have been taking therapy from 2 years, all right? And there are times where, I feel that I'm really self-aware of my emotions and my feelings, because over the time when I took so much therapy, you tend to become very used to identifying your own emotions, which you earlier couldn't, right? So when you sort of suffer from too much awareness or too much self-awareness, it sometimes restricts me from taking the right actions for myself, only for the fact because my brain tells me that, okay, you are too self-aware and you're already aware of what is happening, right? What would you call such a condition? Or is this some kind of is this some kind of a mood fluctuation, or is it some kind of a disorder where you are aware of your own emotions and feelings, but you are reluctant towards making a choice or doing something about it?
That's a wonderful question, Abhishek. I think even I've been taking sessions and counseling session from last, I can say 1 year, and I face this more than you because I've studied everything inside out, the theories and everything, the research and everything. And for to answer your question, I feel that it depends on the thought process more than what you're feeling. That one particular thought which you get, that I know everything, I know why it is happening, then I won't be able to repair, or why I won't be able to solve it. And that thought, when that particular thought changes, you get the answer automatically. So for example, let's say if you're going for a session and you understood how to manage yourself when you're angry, okay, when somebody is angry in front of you, you will go in front of that person and you will say that, okay, do whatever you want to. It's like, if you're angry, there's a fire and I'm not going to throw rocket on it, I'll instead throw, use a fire extinguisher. You know everything, but it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because you have a thought that, okay, I know what is going to happen, but you're naturally too pumped up and agitated to react to that. And we have to work on that particular reaction in the therapy. So that will be my answer to your
Thanks.
question.
I think that was really insightful. We have Nusrat asking us about natural antidepressants. Do we have natural antidepressants?
We do, Nusrat, and I would just say that don't directly go and shift to antidepressant. Go for a psychotherapy, understand what is happening, and then start taking antidepressants. The reason why I'm telling you is, I'll just tell you my appa's example. My appa has this, my father has this tendency to tell everyone that, okay, guy, you have something bad with your stomach. You eat this tablet and everything will be all right. So we've been conditioned this way that medicine khao, khud jaan jao, aur sab kuch theek ho jayega. But it doesn't happen that way. So you have to go to a therapy session, because they are professional. They know what exactly happening, why your mood is in the state which is right now. Maybe when you go to the therapy, there will be just one question that will answer all your question, and you don't even have to consume that medication which is natural. So I would refer, and I would recommend you to first go to a psychotherapist and then go ahead and eat any medication you want to. I hope, Nusrat, that answers your question. And okay, Abhishek, I think there is one more question from Nusrat. And how to change from gloomy? You are on mute if you're speaking, Abhishek. You're on mute, Abhishek. Okay, I'm not really sure whether he's able to hear us. You're on mute. Can't hear you.
Am I audible?
Now you are, yes.
Thank you so much. We have Rohini asking us that she forgives people, and there are times when she has, grudge against them, and she, faces fluctuations in her mood. And then she goes out to meditate and, she let goes of it. But sometimes the same emotion comes back to her, even stronger than what she felt earlier. Well, how do you think she could manage this? Where the emotion, I think this is where it comes us to the same point you started the webinar with, that, it's all about a wave. And, we need to get the surfboard on to sort of, go to this tide and,
absolutely
overcome it, right? So what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think I will, of course, you've actually used one of my examples to already answer it, but I'll use the second example that, as I mentioned, that our brain is just like an ocean. Whatever you dump it, there will be a time when it'll come and dump everything to your, your consciousness, your present. So something that you have to do is go and clean the past, go and get closure to your past. When you get closer to your past, you're cleaning that mess up so that it doesn't pops up when somebody says something triggering, or wo past ki cheeze will come in the present. That past things will come in present and impacts you. So one of the best way to work on it is to understand what happened in the past and get closure to that as well. I think, Rohini, your questions are more on forgiveness. So most of the thing, the best thing that you can do here is get closure to past, unresolved conflicts that are there. And this will definitely going to help you.
Prayag, there's a very simple thought that came to my head when you answered this question.
Yeah.
There are a lot of times when, people find it difficult to go back to a thought and actually treat it with a closure. For example, I'm someone who, cannot accept a closure or go back and create that closure for myself. How do you think I should be dealing with that kind of an emotion then?
I'm really sorry I lost you, Abhishek, in between. Could you please just repeat?
I was saying that, say if I'm someone who cannot go back and treat that closure, or, go ahead and treat a previous thought with a closure, what do you suggest should be my action in that case?
Yeah, there are different therapeutic techniques, Abhishek, for that. You don't always have to. I think somebody says a really funny thing, but it actually makes sense that bhaiyo aur behno, closure khud se laye, ex ke paas na jaye. It's correct. You cannot always go to your ex and get a closure ki why you left me or anything that happened, because it triggers you and increases the emotional distress that you're going through. But there are techniques in therapeutic practice, which is, sitting with the therapist and understanding what has happened in the past. So all these therapeutic technique helps you. So always it's not necessary you going to the past and talking to that person to get the closure.
Yeah, I think that answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek.
All right, that brings us to the end of the Q&A session. Thank you so much, Prayag, for coming today. And I think there's a lot that all of us have learned, and especially I think the most interesting part of the whole webinar for me was to really first accept that, it is okay to have mood disorders. It is not a disease. It is not something which is, going to break or make my life. So I think everything in this can be treated the right way if we take the correct well-being measures for ourselves. and identifying and then accepting and then working on the signs is something that's really important. So thank you so much for sort of bringing this to the light. And your session has been really informative, especially why? Because our previous two sessions were in the lines of helping our attendees build positive well-being strategies, and this is a very good addition to building it better. And I think that's what brings us to the end of this session today. And it's just been a wonderful time having you. Thank you so much for answering everyone's questions. And to all those who we, if at all, missed any questions here, we will get back to you once we discuss with Prayag. And please keep attending Onsurity's Wellness Wednesday session with us. All right.
So before I wind this up, thank you so much, Abhishek, first of all, and I would like to thank Onsurity for coming up with this wonderful well-being initiatives, bringing this insightful and meaningful practical live session, bringing this great content also, and helping others who are joining this. I think there were more than 40 people who have joined and got little more of insight about mood and how they can improvise their life. So thank you so much for having me here. And I'd like to thank all of you, super grateful guys, for always be able to help people and making them a better version of themselves. So thank you so much, Onsurity, for giving me this great opportunity.
And I think the most beautiful part of today's webinar was also realizing that we have such great questions coming up that actually help us introspect and come up with a different perspective altogether. And I think all our speakers, including you, have been talking about how our attendees have been so interactive, giving us really good questions and actually enforcing you to come up with a different perspective altogether. So and I think that's what brings out such a great content from you, because the audience is all that matters. And which is why I would really want to thank everyone who's attended today's session. Thank you so much, Prayal, for being an amazing speaker today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, everyone.